To put it simply, if we can be partners in business, we can be partners in peace. Tonight, I have the privilege of introducing Marilyn Carlson Nelson, an inspiring role model within the business community. Hi, Marilyn. So, when most people travel, they see the world that they are visiting through a very specific lens. They are tourists taking in the sights, or they are business people serving the economic conditions. Perhaps they are government officials assessing the political landscape. But when Marilyn Carlson Nelson travels the globe, she views the world from multiple perspectives. As the chairman and former CEO of Carlson, she has learned what it is like to be the vacationer and to be the local employee, what the needs are of the clients staying in the hotels, but also what the lives are like for the people who work in them. As co-chair of the World Economic Forum and a member of the International Business Council, Marilyn came to understand and work through the mutual and sometimes conflicting objectives of different groups and countries. Marilyn, we really need you in the Middle East. She has been decorated by the countries of France, Sweden, Finland, and Norway for her global involvement. Those skills, that compassion, the cultural competence, those are the core principles that guide our mission here at Seeds of Peace and my own ongoing work as a seed. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming and honoring Marilyn Carlson Nelson as she accepts, on behalf of Carlson, the 2011 Seeds of Peace Corporate Peacemaker Award.
Thank you, Malvina. Meeting Malvina and meeting several of the seeds earlier this evening, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude that Carlson Wagonlit has had the opportunity to sponsor some of the camps over the last several years. It's really extraordinary. And then hearing Malvina explain that she had first come to the camp when she was 13 years old, I stood backstage and I remembered when I was about that age, I was at summer camp, and I can still feel the warmth of the fire and singing, "Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me." I've met each of these young people today, and I remember that song and the effect that it had on me, and that sense that you can be a seed and make a difference, but each of us in this room has the opportunity to do just that. Each of us can think and speak and act with more compassion, more inclusivity, and more forgiveness. And then, in fact, the world will be a more peaceful place. So tonight, I'm especially grateful that the Seeds of Peace chooses to honor a corporation that makes a peaceful contribution. I'm sure it hasn't escaped those of you in this room who've been reading the surveys of whom our country trusts, that corporations are not at the top of that list. But the fact is that you and I know that corporations, thoughtfully led, can make a powerful difference, can be a powerful force for good. I know it to be true at ExxonMobil, where I serve on the board, where there's such extraordinary work going on for women and girls around the world, empowering them, training them, teaching them, where there's a commitment to science and math and engineering in our country. I know it to be true at Carlson, and I'm so grateful for my Carlson colleagues who are here tonight, and for our clients who indirectly help us to accomplish our purpose. maybe you don't realize that 1 in 11 jobs in the world today are actually stimulated by travel and tourism. So I like to think of the 150,000 people who are partners with us in our brands across the world, in our way, as seeds of peace. I've thought of that often as emerging countries urged us to come and bring travelers and bring currency and stimulate growth and hire entry-level jobs for all the various places in our restaurants and hotels that entry-level jobs can bring people into this fantastic global economic system. But it never, ever became more clear to me than it did when I was standing with Shimon Peres at the World Economic Forum. And he asked me, please, Marilyn, I have an idea. He said, let's build a peace hotel. Let's build it in the settlements. I will make sure that the authorities from Israel and the authorities from Palestine help to find the property. And we can tell people that beyond all this turmoil and all this war, there can be peace and tourism. And I said, oh, Shimon, I love the vision, but shame on me. I'm worried. I'm worried about the security. I'm worried about even being able to get this built. And he took me by the shoulders, and his blue eyes looked into mine intently, and he said, Marilyn, it's tourism or terrorism. That was a powerful statement. And I think it changed my business life into a kind of calling from that time forward. I think it was the same kind of observation that stimulated John Steinbeck, the writer, when he said that travel is essential to the modern world. It's very difficult to hate people we know. When Carlson realized that there is a dark side to the globalization, there's a dark side to all the wonderful happiness and international networking that our business travel provides. There's a dark side to travel and tourism, which is the growing scourge of trafficking in children. At any point, according to the United Nations, 2.3 million children are being trafficked for sexual purposes. When we heard that, and we realized that it plays out on the very stage that we love, across borders, in properties, in places like Cambodia, where 40% of the people who go to see Angkor Wat are really there to buy or sell children. And so we decided that that's not tolerable. And when we decided as Carlson to make a commitment to doing something about that, our lawyers said, oh, are you really going to sign this ECPAT? You just don't know. And our PR people said, but we're in the happiness business. How can you even talk in these beautiful settings about this terrible, terrible scourge that is now growing at a faster rate than the sale of armaments, second only to drugs? And I have to tell the truth, that before I could even talk to the rest of my colleagues about signing on and making this one of our passions, I thought back to the moment that my very first grandchild came home. Now, if it came home to my house, Grandma's house. So if any of you have grandchildren, you know what a good grandma does. I had the bassinet ready. Everything was ready for that little boy to come home. And it happened that that room faced the east. And I asked Diana, whatever you do, please, if he cries, I want to go get him up. So up I went, and it was very early dawn. And as I lifted him out of his cradle, it was as if there was a halo behind his head. And I thought, so fresh from God. And then I had what I feel is a kind of epiphany. A voice came to me that said, you can't protect him. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what ability you have, what means you have. what connections and power you have. You cannot connect, you cannot protect this grandchild unless you spend time worrying about those that have no one to take them out of the cradle, about those who are disenfranchised, those with no voice. Because if we don't draw the circle and draw them in, our grandchildren will meet them somewhere, on a battlefield, in a tall building, in a schoolyard. And so since then, we at Carlson have recognized that in this connected world, if we care about ours and our own, we care about those others. And that somehow, as we build our business, that we build our lives and commit ourselves to making this world a more peaceful place. And so tonight, I quote a wonderful proverb, a Spanish proverb, that says, "As a people sow, they will reap more than they sow." Tonight, dear God, let it be so. Thank you.